tonight's next speaker, his presentation entitled The Rhetoric of Job Hunting.
Fellow seniors, has it hit you that in 5 days you'll be a graduate of Georgia College and State University? Graduating senior parents, has it hit you that in just 5 short days you'll be right back here watching your son or daughter walk across that stage and into a new chapter of their life? That feeling right there hit me square in the gut over Christmas break when I realized that I still had one looming question to answer. What in the world was I going to do after I graduated? Now, I knew that I did not want to go to grad school. I was burnt out. 16 years of education was enough for me. Please show me the door. I want to prove myself in the job market. Today, I want to share with you a series of discoveries that I have made over the course of this semester as I realized my next steps and how my major could connect me to a potential job. I set out to discover what the relationship was between my rhetorical skills, interpersonal communication, and the benefit they could bring to my job search. Let me break it down for you in a very short, easy list of 104 ways to land a job. Lady in the back row, please do not leave. I'm just kidding. I'm just going to talk about 4 things tonight. I'm going to begin with how I began my job search and what my mission was. Next, I'll cover what the heck is a cover letter, and are those still relevant in the 21st century? Number 3, I'll talk about the importance of a well-written resume. And last but not least, I'll talk about the do's and don'ts of the job interview process. If you'd like more information on what I'm talking about tonight, you can certainly do so. I have a website up. It's called alexallison1.wordpress.com. I would like to have it up here tonight, but that was just unable to happen. So to begin, where did I begin my job search and what was my mission? Like I said, over the Christmas break, I was wrestling with this question. And I realized I can only look for so many jobs by myself. But if I had 5, 10, 20, 50, 100 other people looking for jobs for me, my success rate would obviously increase. And so I realized 2 things. First, people genuinely want to help you with your job search. But number 2, they oftentimes don't exactly know how to help you. And so I quickly had to formulate a plan of attack. I realized I was passionate about 2 things. First, people. Number 2, communication. Unfortunately for me, a lot of jobs use both of those things. So I sent out an email to a lot of these people, and I contacted them. And I really was able to use my rhetoric skills to persuade my audience, to persuade all these people that I had to communicate to. In the rhetoric department, we call these ethos, pathos, and logos, but really, all I was doing was telling them about our past experiences together. I had to bring in an emotional, punch, and also give them a logical argument on why they should put aside what they're doing and help me find a job. So that's kind of where I started coming from. That was my mission. That was my plan of attack. Let's move on to what the heck is a cover letter, and are those still used in the 21st century? I handed my resume to my dad. I said, "Dad, can you check this over?" He said, "Sure." He looked over and he said, "Alex, this looks great, but where's your cover letter?" I said, "Dad, those are so old-fashioned. No one uses those anymore." Boy, was I wrong. Through the job search, I found there were 3 major reasons why cover letters are still incredibly important today. The first reason is because people typically read your cover letter first before they read anything else. So when I sent those emails out to all those people to help me, they were going to read my cover letter first before ever taking a look at my resume. And a cover letter has a very unique way or a place where you can articulate your thoughts. You can tell them exactly what your goals are, what you're passionate about, and how how they can specifically help you. The second reason cover letters are incredibly important is because of the online job application process. You know, in the 21st century, 99.9% of jobs you have to apply online. Even if you know the hiring manager, even if you know someone that's really high up in the company, you're still probably going to have to pass your application on via online. And I found that most of the time, cover letters were an optional selection on a job application. But I realized, even if 100 people out of 3,700 people applying for this one particular job included a cover letter, if I were the hiring manager, why would I bother looking at the other 3,700 people? If I could just look at the 100 people that I felt like put an extra step into the process, that could give me a more complete picture of who they were. So that's the second reason they're most important. And the last reason is gatekeepers. A gatekeeper is an individual that is going to receive your cover letter, your resume, your application, and pass it on to someone else or discard it. And I realized, while I may find that cover letters are extremely outdated, the individual, that gatekeeper, who's probably a more seasoned professional, might find that that is a crucial component of the application. And so if they find it crucial, I need to adapt my mindset to my audience and also include the best written cover letter they have ever seen. So now we talk about my mission. We've talked about the cover letter. Now let's move on to why a well-written resume is important. I remember in high school, my senior year, I had this honors English lit teacher, Miss Wilson. And Miss Wilson, she made it a requirement that before we graduated from her class, we had to turn in a resume. And her resume followed a very strict guideline. It was a rubric, and you had to have your your heading look a certain way, your points had to be looking this way, your font had to be a certain style, had to be laid out a certain way. And I applauded Miss Wilson for making me do a resume. She pushed me to, fill out a resume. Once I got to college, I realized everybody has different strengths. They have different weaknesses. And so I need to highlight my specific strengths and of course downplay my weaknesses. And so I set out to formulate how I could represent myself on a piece of paper. Because after all, that's exactly what you're doing. In an interview, you come in and you're self-representing yourself right there in person. But with a resume, with a cover letter, that piece of paper needs to be your representation. And so I need to look exactly like I am, just on a piece of paper. So that by the time I come into the interview, the interviewer has already seen my resume, he's already seen my cover letter, and he already understands who this person is that's going to walk into that room that afternoon. Now that we've talked about, my process, my plan of action, my cover letter, my resume, the next thing is the interview. And the do's and don'ts of the interview. This is probably where I spent the majority of my time. I put a ton of information on a website, but I just want to focus on three major areas. The first is keep it simple. I feel like today in the 21st century job market, we put so much pressure on the interview, and it's probably because they're so scarce. The job application process is such a long process. And when we finally land on that interview, we psych ourselves out. It's so crucial. I gotta do really well in this. But if we just keep calm, be ourselves, stay conversational, and get back to the basics, we're gonna succeed. This is the easy part. We know us. That leads into my second part. You are an expert on yourself. You know you. They don't. That's why there's an interview. So you get to keep your cards close at hand and just tell them the good things. And you get to tell them exactly what your strengths are, and you get to downplay all of your weaknesses. Now the third thing I want to talk about on interviews is closing the deal. This is where I feel so many people kind of botch it, And fortunately for me, I was able to go through several interviews and realize this as I progressed. And different interviews have different feels. You're going to have to perform a little bit different on a phone interview than any other type of interview. Like I was applying for a lot of sales positions. At the end of a sales interview, that salesman who's conducting the interview wants you to give him a pitch. He wants you to ask for the job. But that doesn't work in every, situation or every interview. But it's all about details. I realized real quick, it's important that you remember who's going to be interviewing that morning. You give them a firm handshake, eye contact, bright smile, and then afterwards, you write their name down on a little thank you card, drop it off with the secretary, and that goes above and beyond their expectations for that day. And that is the icing on the cake that can close the deal. So today, we've talked about my mission, where I began my job search. We've talked about what the heck is a cover letter and how extremely important those are in the 21st century. We've also talked about the importance of a well-written resume. And last but not least, we talked about the do's and don'ts of the interview process. So when that realization hits you, that you are a graduate of Georgia College and State University, relax. Because the relationship between your rhetorical skills, interpersonal communication, is going to pay off in a huge